in a vehicle giving a Bible study with the Ethiopian eunuch. We look at Peter, and Peter is giving a Bible study in a home in a small group. Did you notice that? Maybe you missed it when you read the story. Cornelius. He goes to Cornelius in Cornelius' house, and he's giving a Bible study. We find out that Paul and Silas gave Bible studies in a prison. It was an unintentional prison ministry, but it was a prison ministry. God put them there. They were giving Bible studies to the other people in prison and to the jailer. We look at Dorcas. Dorcas is reaching the people by handing out clothes and food and taking care of things that way. We look at all of the different ways that God reached people in Acts. Because everybody's not able to be reached the same way. Sometimes we see somebody mowing the yard and we go talk to them. We see somebody at work and we go talk to them. Sometimes we see one of our neighbors and we go talk to them. Sometimes we're visiting in a family and we talk to them. Sometimes we mail out things to a prison and we talk to them. Sometimes we visit with somebody at church. Sometimes at fellowship meal. Sometimes in the store. You never know. I visited with somebody at Taco Bell, I think it was the other night. I think it was Taco Bell. One of those little places. Went through the window. Rhonda wanted a bean burrito or something. And asked the lady how she's doing. She says, I'm doing fine. I said, I can tell. And I asked, when you meet people like that, you ask, can you pray with them? You ask, can you help get their day better? I mean, you see opportunities all the time. You see people that are hurting and they share. And you can either say, oh, that's too bad. Or we can say, can I share what works for me? Can I share how I felt better? We get out our own Jade's Lord. We find out what is it that's working with the people where we're at. God asks us to keep our tackle box full. God asks us to keep our lantern lit. God asks us to make sure to be ready in season and out of season so that we can share the gospel with people that need it, with people that need hope, people that are hurting. Peter tells us we're a royal generation, or a chosen generation. We're a royal priesthood. He tells us that we're a holy nation. We're a special possession. He tells us that God has called us. Some of us have grown up Adventists. Some of us take the doctrines for granted. Some of us think they're restrictive. Some of us think the Bible is restrictive and binds us, but the Bible sets us free. The doctrines set us free. If you look at our doctrines and they're binding you, you're missing what the doctrine is about. You need to look at the doctrines and see how the doctrines set you free, because Jesus is in every one of them, because they all reflect Him. They all reflect Him. And when somebody is sharing in the church how they're feeling discouraged and they're feeling depressed, you should be able to share how the belief and the hope in Jesus Christ sets people free, instead of binding them down, instead of holding them down. If you don't know, how can you share? If you feel the same way, if you're going around checking your watch saying, I can't wait for Sabbath to end, how can you share how the Sabbath is a blessing to somebody? If you're going around and you're sharing how much hurt you have over meeting with this doctrine, or how much hard time you have with this doctrine, or how this one has been such a burden for you, how can you share with somebody else how that doctrine, that belief, is a blessing and shows Jesus in it? How can you share with somebody else the hope in it? You need to go to Jesus. You need to go to the Bible. You need to find out that why you believe and what you believe and why it brings good news to people. Why they should rejoice in that and why they should be happy in that and how that belief can be a blessing. But first of all, we have to meet them where they are and meet their needs and let them know that somebody cares. And then when they say, how can you be so happy? And then you can share why you believe. Then you are ready to give an answer to everyone that asks. But you can't make them bite on a bait that they're not ready for. You have to reach them where they are. Meet their needs. Then you can say, follow Jesus. And then you can help them be devoted to the apostles' teaching. And then you can help them to grow into Christ. And then you can help lead them through sanctification. I mean, what we need is we need to let people know there's hope first. Because there's people sitting in church, probably today, that are wondering what they're going to do by the time they leave church. Having a hard time focusing on the Sabbath school lesson. Having a hard time focusing on the message. Because there's so many problems in their heart and so many problems in their life. There may be people on Facebook today listening that are having so many problems, they don't know how to fit Jesus in. They don't know how to look up to see the sunshine because the darkness is surrounding them. And we need to be able to share the good news. That's why it's called good news. We need to be able to share the hope that is in Jesus Christ. And we need to let them know that somebody loves them. Amen. Now the difference between, I learned this when I was young and Halverson was talking to me, the difference between catching fish and catching people is you catch the fish is in trouble. That's not good news for that fish. But when you catch people, it's good news. When you catch people, you're introducing them to a lifestyle of hope. You're introducing them to a family that loves them. You're introducing them to Christ. You're introducing them for the first time for a lot of people for something worthwhile and something good. That's our job. To share with them. To bring them that hope. Sometimes we fear witnessing because it's uncomfortable. Sometimes we're afraid of sharing Jesus because we don't think it feels good, or we don't think it's comfortable, we're embarrassed, or we're shy. My question is, do you really believe it's good news? Do you really believe that being a Christian is good news? Amen. Do you really believe that the laws of God, the lifestyle of Jesus, everything that comes wrapped up as a Christian is good news? Or do you think the only part of the good news is heaven? No. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, thou art with me. In this world, we all walk through that valley. But as a Christian, you've got Jesus to walk with you. As a Christian, you have someone to pray to and someone to talk to. You've got a family to support you as Christians. It's good news to be part of the family of God. Yeah. It is something that we need to rejoice about. It's something people need to see. They tell you, if you're happy, I mean, you meet people, how you doing? I'm doing fantastic. Well, why don't you tell your face? Because your face isn't looking too happy. Isn't that true? Can people tell that you're a Christian by your face? I told you about that little girl driving down the road. She turns to her mommy and she says, Mommy, that cow out there's a Christian. I said, what do you mean that cow's a Christian? She goes, well, Mommy, look at that cow. It looks so sad. It must be a Christian. I mean, how many times are we that sad cow and we're claiming to be a Christian? You should be the happiest people on earth if you're Christians. Christianity should not be something that you look at as an obligation. It should be something you look at with rejoicing as a gift from God. And don't be embarrassed to share good news. Don't be embarrassed to share something happy. Don't be, I mean, look at the demoniacs. Christ healed them. They want to go share Jesus. Don't think you can't do it. I think that Clay Dyer is a professional bass fisherman. Clay Dyer has won a few tournaments on the lower end, but when you get to the higher tournaments, he hasn't, I don't think he's made the cut yet. But Clay Dyer is only 40 inches tall. He weighs 86 pounds. Clay Dyer was born with no legs, no left arm, and only a very short stub on the right side. But Clay Dyer is a fisherman, professional fisherman on the bass tournament. I don't know if he has any Jake lures. I got to find out. But Clay Dyer taught himself to fish. Clay Dyer is a witness for Christ. Clay Dyer is an assistant basketball coach for the high school team. Clay Dyer catches, or not basketball, football assistant. He catches a football between this little stub and his cheek. And he kind of hit it with his chin and toss it with his little stub. Boom, pass it to people. And he shares Jesus. He ties the lures on in his mouth. He ties the knots with his tongue. He says, yeah, I got stuck a few times in the mouth, the tongue, but he said, so do the fish. So he says, it's the only way I can tie it. I don't have any hands. So he ties the knots in his mouth. And he said, if I would have been normal, like everybody else, I might not have known God. But the way I am, I needed God. And I can share that with people. I have a short video that I want to play for you to see Clay Dyer here.
He was born without legs and only one partial arm with no fingers or thumb. Yet, Clay has never let these obstacles stop him. He texts on his cell phone using his lips. He uses his neck and arm to hold and cast his fishing rod. He attaches lures using his mouth.
I love to be in the outdoors. I love to be hunting, fishing. I love to be involved in sports and anything that's good, clean, fun, it's adventurous, that's got to do with sports.
People are amazed at how Clay taught himself to cast a rod and reel.
I would watch people do it on television or, and just watch them in person. And then I got the rods and reels and I started holding them and through trial and error, I would try different mechanical ways of holding the rod and positioning it, try different things on my body to throw it until I got to what felt comfortable. And when I got something that felt comfortable, that's what I stuck with and tried to be as efficient with it as what I possibly could.
Now he competes on the National Pro Fishing Circuit, and he's won about 20 state and regional fishing tournaments. And next to his love of fishing is football. He's an assistant football coach for Hamilton High School. His goal for these student athletes is clear.
To me, it's just watching these young men succeed in life and trying to be a positive example to them, to encourage them, because there's a lot of things out there in this world that's in time that teenagers can get involved in. And
the greatest thing I admire about Clay is a spiritual young man that really believes in what he's doing. He's trying to make this earth a better place. And I really appreciate him in what he does for myself and these coaches here.
In my life, I'd have to say the biggest lesson God's taught me is the value of patience, the value of determination, and willpower, but yet to allow Him to lead, guide, and direct me and to follow His lead.
Even with these obstacles, Clay has always managed to have an upbeat attitude. He only remembers one time when he questioned why God had made him this way.
When I was about 4.5 years old or so, going close to 5, that I looked at when I said, Daddy, why did God make me like this? And, my dad looked at me and he said, and I remember the answer, he said, son, I don't know, but I know God doesn't make mistakes. And when I look back on it, I realized that I didn't see it at the time, but God knew when He made me for a purpose to be able to go out and to try to be a witness to Him and try to be able to encourage people to live for Him and challenge people to live for Him.
Clay says one of the most important moments in his life was when he prayed a simple prayer.
I said, God, I know I've got sin in my heart and my life, and I just begged God. I said, God, I beg you to come in and cleanse me of my sins and give me a relationship with you so I can have that. The biggest blessings in my life I now have to say is just the fact of being able to be, alive and healthy and have a great family, and to be able to know that I've got Jesus Christ in my heart, and that He gives me a chance to live every day, to live my dream and do what I love to do.
I see that. And I ask myself, what's our excuse? If he can share the gospel, why can't we? If anybody has an excuse to give up, if anybody can say, I can't do it, it would be somebody like Clay. He's out there sharing while he's fishing. He's out there sharing. For those on Facebook, go to YouTube and look up Clay Dyer. What's our excuse? God has asked us to be the light of the world. Is our lantern lit? I've got a song I'd like to close with. If you can't hear it there on Facebook, go to YouTube again, look up Light Your World. Let me pray, and we're going to listen to this song. Father God, we ask that you would help us to keep our lantern lit. Forgive us for going around honoring you with our lips, but keeping our heart far from you, from waving our lantern as a badge instead of sharing Christ from our heart. For looking only at the privileges and not being willing to carry the cross. You ask us to carry that cross. You promise an exceeding great reward. Help us to keep our lantern lit in Jesus' name.